Get started.
All right, I don't think I'm going to have to use the. I don't think I'm going to have to use the speaker today because I think I'll be loud enough for all of us to gather in a little bit close. The first thing I want to do is I want to thank everybody for coming today. We've got a few important issues together, and there's a few issues that all of us share combined. That's the respect that we are now receiving from the University of Minnesota. Now, one thing I do know is that there's a sign on Morrill Hall today that says the building's closed because of a protest. Boy, isn't this a frightening bunch of people. And I got here a little bit early and I had an opportunity to watch some folks come and go from Morrill Hall. And there's probably about as many law enforcement officials that have filed into that building than there are standing out here today. But one thing I do want to say to our law enforcement officials, because I know that you're listening, and I want to say thank you for the service that you provide the communities, the University of Minnesota, and the service that you provide to the students here at the University of Minnesota, so thank you. Brothers and sisters, AFSCME, SEIU, MPIRG, for all of us that are here, we're being injured. And an injury to one of us is an injury to all of us. And I'm very happy to say, and I'm happy that we all have the ability to stand here together and fight for the respect that we deserve. We all perform an essential function to our community, to the University of Minnesota, and to the students that we serve on this campus. And by God, I think we serve one of the most essential functions to the students here at the University of Minnesota. We're responsible for their nutrition. We're responsible in one fashion or another for their safety, and we're responsible for their health as well. University of Minnesota Teamsters are being injured. They're being injured because they're not being given the opportunity to use their collectively bargained for benefit of sick leave to take care of themselves and to take care of their family. During our last contract campaign, our big slogan was wages and respect. We dealt with the wages. We believed that we had dealt with the respect, but by God, we're not receiving the respect that we deserve. We've had members who've been reprimanded, both orally and verbally. They've been suspended from their employment, and they've been terminated from their employment for calling in sick to take care of sick children, for calling in sick to take care of themselves when they're ill. Brothers and sisters, these are people that are responsible for nutrition services, for food services, for serving the students. It's against the law to serve the students food when you're ill, but that's what apparently is the expectation here from the University of Minnesota. They refuse to treat us with respect. They're violating our rights to use sick leave. They're violating some of your rights under PELRA that give you the rights to organize. They're violating your rights to a healthy learning institution. The university has committed itself to a lack of respect for its workforce. They've committed themselves to being an anti-union employer. And it's time for us to stand up. It's time for us to stand up together. And it's time for us to let them know we are sick and tired of it.
Yeah!
Teamsters Local 320 represents one of the most diverse workforces here at the University of Minnesota. It's also one of the most lowest paid workforces here at the University of Minnesota in food service. I wonder, what are the benefits that the administrators here receive when it comes to the ability to take time off to care for themselves or sick children when they're ill? I bet it's different than the organized workforce here at the University of Minnesota. We're going to keep up this fight. We're going to continue this fight. And we're not going to back down till you get the respect that you deserve. I don't want to take up all the time here today because we have some very distinguished special guests. And our next guest I want to introduce to you is the president of the Minnesota Nurses Association. And I think she knows a little bit about earning respect and fighting for what's right. So I want to introduce to you the president of the Minnesota Nurses Association, Mary Turner.
My name's Mary Turner, President of Minnesota Nurses Association, and I am here today because, well, for one thing, if y'all know, I don't know if you knew what was going on, but our line of nurses were out on strike for 6 weeks, and Teamsters Local 320 and SEIU 284 were there on our picket lines and on our rallies, and and right now today I'm returning the favor along with some other nurses here. But, I want to launch right into this whole thing with this. What did you guys get? A computerized attendance tracking system a couple years ago. That kind of keeps track of your sick leave and you're getting penalized, right? If you call in sick.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's something that we dealt with at my hospital. And that's something that's being dealt with. That same kind of thing is appearing. It must be the same vendor that's selling the same computer program across the country. Because just as you earn the right through your bargaining to use sick leave, just as fast as you get those rights, and you probably give up things to get that ability to be able to call in sick when you need to, you've got administrations and businesses all over the country trying to find a way to keep you from using the benefits that you have earned. And this is where the nurses have a problem with it, though. When you're sick, there's a reason you call in, all right? I know for nurses, if we come to work with fevers and throwing up and influenza and things like that, what's going to happen to our patients, okay? We run the risk of killing off our patients. That's how detrimental it is for a nurse to show up at work sick. But is it any less detrimental for you all to come here and infect all of our children that come here to go to school? Is that any less? It just ain't right. It ain't right. It ain't, Jennifer. It ain't right. This is a public health issue. This is a public health crisis. This business of them trying to stop I'm sorry, but the 99% of us, okay? The 99% of us that just want to earn a day's wage and just work and serve the people, we should be allowed to also keep the public safe. Not only serve them, but keep them safe. And we keep them safe when we stay home with 102 fever. We keep them safe when we stay home when we're throwing up, okay? I don't mean to be so graphic, but I'm a nurse, all right? That's how we keep them safe. And so I'm here to support you because it is for the nurses, just like we backed Earn Safe and Sick Time in Minneapolis, and we backed it in St. Paul. We are here once again backing you to be able to have the ability to call in sick when you need to. And if they got problems with that little 1% that abuses their sick leave, then deal with them and leave the rest of us alone.
All right, thank you, Mary. I want to introduce now Jeff Roos, the president of the Postdoc Association from Minnesota Academics United.
Okay, so I'm Jeff Roos. I'm a researcher here at the U and the president of the Postdoc Association. And we'll get back to what President Turner talked about in a minute. but I'd just like to express the experience that we as postdocs have been going through and other people have gone through here at the U. Postdocs here at the U have had their postdoctoral affairs office revoked. They've had their transit benefits revoked. They've been threatened with eviction, and all of that would have taken place if it weren't for activists like the PDA and allies like MN Academics and other union allies helping us resolve these issues, because we don't have any representation. Now, in May of this year, the Department of Labor decided that postdocs, just like everybody else, were deserving of the very same benefits and protections of people in the private sector. This includes being paid for the overtime everybody knows postdocs are working. To quote Secretary Perez, you don't need to know how to split an atom to know that that's not right. We've had to be dealing with this and going to arguably horrible lengths just to get the most minor issues resolved because of these damn software issues that are going on. These software issues tear apart people's rights. They take away their benefits in the workplace simply because the university doesn't care until somebody tells them. Now, to get back to what President Turner was saying, I can tell you that as somebody with a disability, me showing up to work having a seizure or having a migraine and vomiting isn't particularly great for the research I'm doing. There's a reason I'm given the vacation and the sick leave I am. I need that in order to be productive at work. I know what I do as a physicist here, but I certainly don't know what the food service workers do. That's why they have that job. That's why they have that contract. That contract, including the sick leave in it, needs to be respected.
Thank you, Jeff. Rahel Haley. All right.
Hey all, I'm here representing students from Emperor and the 15 for Students campaign. The university constantly tries to pull a fast one on students and staff. It's like constant, all the time, and they think that we won't see it. It's not right that union jobs are being replaced with students because they're seen as cheap labor. Everyone deserves the opportunity to get the same job, no matter what. I hope Kaler, and if he doesn't see what we're doing right now, he will, finally sees that everyone deserves a $15 minimum wage. Student, Teamster, whoever it is, deserves a $15 minimum wage and deserves to be able to call in sick. Students have this problem as well, and it's not right.
Yeah!
All right, thank you. Now it's a distinct honor for me to introduce our next guest, a good friend of labor, a good friend of public employees, Representative Deborah Hillstrom.
Well, I'm a University of Minnesota graduate, and I have to tell you that I would be proud to have a university that paid everyone $15 for a minimum wage.
Yeah!
We fund the University of Minnesota at the Capitol, and we are working all across this state to make certain that our workers are put in a better position. We want them to have sick and safe time. We want them to be able to take care of their families. It's very troubling when you find out that someone could be sick at work, feeding other people, and then they get penalized for doing the right thing and going home. That is a public health issue. We see signs all over at the Capitol. If you're sick, stay home. Wash your hands before you return to work. And yet here we are punishing people who do the very thing that we want them to do. You're sick, go home. That's what we want, and we need to send a very strong message about that. I also am strongly supportive of the organization that SEIU is attempting to do of tenure track and non-tenure track employees.
Yeah!
One of the ways that labor has a strong voice is by organizing. And the workers get that voice collectively. We have a fight at the Capitol all the time about whether to have a labor person or not a labor person on the Board of Regents. If we are having that fight, we need you to have that fight here to make certain that your voices in labor are heard. We need you to So I strongly encourage folks to participate in that movement of organizing. Now, one of the reasons why I was asked to speak here today is because my family has been active in the labor movement for a very long time. My grandfather participated in strikes in 1934, which allowed the Teamsters truckers to organize.
All right!
My grandfather in 1939 participated in the strikes of the sewing rooms right here at the University of Minnesota. Back then in 1939, they brought in a bunch of scabs to do the work. They actually had many strikes, and it was illegal to strike against the government back then. They rounded up and indicted 130 people who were attempting to organize and protest. They tried those folks, and they convicted them. It is no longer illegal to strike against the government, and thank God for that.
Yeah!
But we need you to continue to organize to make certain that folks like the University of Minnesota do what's right by labor. They need to do what's right by the workers. I believe that $15 minimum wage is reasonable.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
believe that getting to use your sick and safe time that you negotiated is the right thing to do.
Yeah!
And I believe that we need to organize more. So thank you for all you're going to do during the campaign, and I hope the University of Minnesota hears us loud and clear today.
Yeah!
You know, Representative Hillstrom mentioned something that's very important, and I'm going to mention in my closing remarks. Get out to vote. November 8th is right around the corner, and we're lucky in Minnesota we have the right to vote for 45 days. There's absolutely not a single excuse any one of us could come up with to not vote. We need to make sure we vote, and we need to make sure that we vote in our best interests. In our best interests are public employee issues. We're compensated by tax dollars. We work for public employees and we work for the public. So on November 8th, get out to vote. For those of you who are Teamsters, we'd be more than happy if you contact us to let you know who we have endorsed through our political arm. The other thing I want to remind everybody is that there is a $15 an hour now rally here on November 29th at the University of Minnesota campus at 4:30 p.m. So mark your calendars. If anybody wants to see the flyer, here you go. And our local contributes to $15 an hour.
Yeah!
There's no reason that somebody shouldn't earn $15 an hour at a minimum. Brothers and sisters, we need to keep the heat up on the University of Minnesota. This policy is unfair. You can't track your health by a computer program. If you wake up in the morning and you don't feel well, that's what that benefit's for. If you need to stay home and take care of your child, that's what that benefit's for. We have just shy of 30 grievances at the local slated to go to arbitration. This battle's not going to stop. We're going to continue to take grievance after grievance after grievance, and we've let the University of Minnesota know if you want to set aside a day, a month to arbitrate, we're ready.
Yeah!
Brothers and sisters, thank you, and I want to thank the MNNA, Representative Hillstrom, Emperg, 15 now, and anybody else. If I forgot to mention, I apologize, and I look forward to seeing you again in the future. We're not going away. We're going to keep the heat up on the University of Minnesota. And let's hope this weather holds out.